Hello everyone, welcome into the news update for the NR2003 Simulation Series. Today we're going to go over the news that's been happening. It's been a couple weeks since we crowned our champion in Las Vegas, but the NR2003 world has continued on and has done a few little things here and there. So we're going to go over a couple things starting with the announcements. Kyle Busch announces he will be racing for Trackhouse Racing in a third entry next year. Kyle will be driving the number 90 machine. So Trackhouse racing with 3 cars next year for the first time in their history, and they're bringing a multi-time champion in while doing it. Kyle Busch excited to start his new venture with Trackhouse in the number 90 machine next year. The reverse side of that, of course, Kyle Busch left the 18 machine of Joe Gibbs Racing, but kind of a surprise. Trevor Bayne signed a 1-year contract to race in the NASCAR Cup Series in the number 18 machine. Trevor was excited and ready to go racing with Joe Gibbs next year. Of course, Trevor did race in the Xfinity Series in some select starts for Joe Gibbs Racing, so some familiarity with the organization and the number 18 machine, because that's the car that he drove in the Xfinity Series. News also coming out of Joe Gibbs and Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin will be retiring at the end of 2023. This opens up a seat for an up-and-coming driver, either in the Xfinity Series or Truck Series, who wins races, maybe wins a championship, has great success, could potentially get this seat for the number 11 machine. Another driver announcing his retirement, Kevin Harvick. So for the second year in a row, we're having a retirement out of the Stewart-Haas Racing Camp, and has not been announced who's going to get this number 4 ride next year. I would assume it would be somebody already in the Stewart-Haas organization as it is in the Xfinity Series, or some of their development drivers. NR officials were busy in the off-season so far. They crash tested the race car. They're trying to work on a couple things. We saw some huge hits last year in the races, and the officials really wanted to take a look at this car and make sure the car is crashing as safe as it can. So Talladega, they focused on right side impacts and rear impacts. They also went to Sonoma Raceway. They tested a front end impact on a hard wall and a front end impact on a tire barrier wall, so kind of covering all their bases as they go through this testing process of this new car. It has come out that they are going to change a couple things with the race car to make it a little bit safer. One of the most odd tests that they had done, was at Texas when they backed the car into the wall at a maximum of 80 miles an hour. So a low-speed hit. That was one of the strangest crash tests that they did. Organizational testing also happened at Daytona. They are checking out a new package for the Super Speedway Racing for next season. You can see that the cars have huge spoilers on them. That was one of the things that the NR2003 officials really wanted to check out, was how this works. Zane Smith was actually in the 34, or the front row, test car for Front Row Motorsports. He is not racing full-time in the Cup Series next year, but Michael McDowell and Todd Gilliland had prior commitments that they could not make it to the first day of the test, so Zane Smith did that. Trevor Bayne got behind the wheel of his 18 machine for the first time in Daytona testing. When he got out of the car, he said, "It's great, and I love it," and he had a smile across his face. He's ready to go for next season. Kyle Busch also gets his first laps in a Trackhouse entry at the tire test from Homestead. They wanted to do a tire test at a track that was really abrasive, and they picked Homestead, of course, mainly because of the weather. It's always nice down there, and the track is pretty abrasive. They wanted to see what different tire compounds would act like at Homestead. Good results came out of that test from what we have heard. Rookie testing also was going on in Atlanta. Rookie testing brand new this year, and our 2003 officials wanted to make it so rookies can get on the racetrack with other rookies by themselves, get a feel for the car, how it operates, just get familiar with these next-gen race cars before they put them on track with everybody else. So, as you see here, we have Noah Gragson. We were taking a look at Ty Gibbs as well. Dano Kvyat, he was also in his number 26 machine. He's racing full-time next year for Hesselberg Racing. And we also had Haley Deegan racing full-time next year in the 15 machine for Rick Ware Racing. So excitement building for these rookies for next year. We have a pretty strong rookie class going into 2023. They did host a organizational test that they included a lot of race cars. There was 22 cars on the racetrack, but unfortunately it had to be cut short. NR 2003 officials wanted to take a look at Atlanta as one of those tracks that they needed to revise the package a little bit, and unfortunately Bubba Wallace gets turned by Chris Buescher. The test had to end early because a lot of cars ended up with some damage, and they could not get good data from the cars that were damaged enough where they could still continue on, maybe collect some data, but NASCAR decided that they were going to cancel the rest of the test. You can see here it was just a 4-wide incident. They did get 4 hours of data. They wanted a maximum of 8. Honda also went to Texas Motor Speedway to test their NASCAR Next Gen race car. Honda, looking to get into the sport, took 2 race cars to Texas. They wanted to check out what the cars could do and all in all get a good sense of where they are development-wise for entry into the Cup Series. NR2003 officials were there to take a look at all of the data that they had collected. Honda did say that they're not going to be ready for the beginning of the season. They may not even be ready for the end of the season, but they have hope that they can get a couple starts in the final 10 races, but we will have to see how that unfolds as the season goes on. Talking about the end of the season, there has been a change in the playoff format. Last year, it was 6 races. It has been knocked down to 5 this year. The top 12 drivers after Kansas will make the 5-race playoffs, but this is the biggest change. A win will lock a driver into the championship race in Las Vegas. As you remember last year, for example, William Byron, he had won a race but was eliminated the next race. If this was the playoff format last year, William Byron would have been locked in to Las Vegas, so it puts more of an emphasis on winning. The last part of this, each race, the bottom 2 drivers without a win are eliminated. That does not change, but if you are part of the bottom 2 drivers and you have a win, you don't have to worry about it. You're already locked into Las Vegas. Talking about the schedule real quick, we're going to take a look at the newly reconfigured Auto Club Speedway. This track is going to be ready for the Cup Series this upcoming season. Second race of the season is in Auto Club. They haven't tested here yet, but I believe that it is on the schedule to have a small 10-car test here in Auto Club to make sure that the track is everything that they wanted and to make sure the racing is going to be great, and hope that the package that they bring is going to put on some good racing. Taking a look at the schedule, Daytona is the first race, of course, the Daytona 500. Auto Club, we were just talking about, is the second race. They go on the West Coast swing per usual. A couple small changes. Talladega no longer in the playoffs. And it had gotten much backlash that Talladega was in the playoffs last year, and these guys that were eliminated due to a big accident that was of no fault of their own did not have a chance to race for a championship in Las Vegas. They listened, they moved Talladega, they put Darlington in the playoffs, and they put Bristol in the playoffs. So a couple exciting racetracks. We saw some fantastic racing from Darlington last year with last lap passes, and just it was good racing. So they put it in the playoffs. Hopefully it will produce good racing yet again. Taking a look at some other schedule changes here, you can see Gateway is on the schedule, and Indianapolis, they're no longer going to race on the road course. They're going to go back to the Oval this year with a revised package for great racing. They are going to be testing there pretty soon, but unfortunately they can't test until the season has kind of started. They said they're going to try to fit in a test in between Bristol Dirt and Talladega, but we'll see if that's going to hold true as the season goes on. ISM moves a little bit later on in the season as well. And you can see that Kansas is still in the end of the season, but that's going to be the cutoff race for the playoffs. So Richmond no longer the cutoff race, Kansas the cutoff race, 5 races in the playoffs. Las Vegas is still your championship setting at the end of the season. We hope you enjoyed the news update for the NR2003 simulation season. Stay tuned, there's going to be more information and more news coming your way before Daytona, which will be here before you know it. We hope to see you then. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.